Sa kasaysayan ng daigdig ay may mga robot na halos kamukhang kamukha na ng tao. Nakakakilabot isipin na halos kamukha na natin sila. Makikita din natin to sa mga palabas na kung saan makikita nyo na yung hugis na mukha ng karakter ay malapit sa mukha ng tao. Nakakabahalang isipin na baka meron ng mga robot sa ating lugar na gumagala gamit ang anyo ng tao.
Ang Uncanny Valley ay nagpapakita na halos kamukha na ng tao ang itsura ng isang robot. At nagpapakita din ito ng emosyon kagaya ng isang tao. Makikita din natin ito sa mga palabas kagaya ng Polar Express, Animal Kingdom, Lion King at marami pang iba. Bakit nga ba gumagawa ang tao ng robot na kasing tulad natin? At ano nga ba ang naging epekto nito sa ating lahat?
The unsettling feelings of aversion that some people feel in response to the things that are not quite human-like. This is the Uncanny Valley effect. This phenomenon has been affecting some people in the world for years, especially when the era for technological advancement reaches its high point. But the main question is, how does this phenomenon only exist in some people and not in the others? And how does this phenomenon really works? And why do we experiencing it? Here, this is the critical areas that I'll be discussing right now. Originally, the term Uncanny Valley came from the theory of a Japanese roboticist named Masahiro Mori in an article he published in Energy named Bukomi no Tani in 1970. The article he published contained his hypothesis based on his observations that as robots become more human-like, they appear more familiar, until a point is reached at which the subtle imperfections of the appearances make them look eerie. It's been further visualized in the graph made by him comparing the affinity or the Chikanman to the human likeness. As the robot's human likeness increases, our affinity towards the robot also increases, but only at a certain point. And when reached, it will plunge down and we will feel repulsive and aversive. The depression within this graph is the Uncanny Valley. Although Moore's hypothesis solely centralized his point in the robots becoming more human-like, the Uncanny Valley effect may also make its appearance on various things. Example of it is the weirdly designed visuals in animations, like the Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within. So, the reasons of why we're experiencing this phenomenon can also be explained in various ways. First, it may be resulted on how our brain works. According to a study made by Grabenhorst and his team, the Uncanny Valley effect can be associated on the processes within the medial prefrontal cortex of the brain, where it is responsible for regulating attention, inhibitory control, habit formation, and working spatial and long-term memory. The phenomenon happens when the dorsal cortical regions of the MPFC, which are involved in the appraisal and expression of the negative emotion, appraises the human likeness signal from the visual input of the brain into the human detection signal, which is used to identify whether the figure is normal and whether it is a threat or not. Then the ventral rostral portion of the MPFC, which have regulatory role involving in generating emotional responses, integrated these signals with a likability evaluation, producing a distinct pattern that closely matched the feelings of the said phenomenon. Furthermore, various studies made by Chalice and Franklin in 2017 suggest that the plasticity of the neural circuits within the MPFC or the medial prefrontal cortex can be associated with the person's sensitivity and sociability and the external stimuli. In simple terms, the part of the brain is responsible for the judgment of our thoughts and responses. So that's why we feel the Uncanny Valley effect. The second reason is because it may be resulted on from how we think. According to the article published by yours truly, Sigmund Freud, in 1919, entitled The Uncanny, as he quoted, "Uncanny is in reality nothing as new or alien, but something which is familiar and all established in the mind, and which has become alienated from it only through the process of repression." Basically, tackling the horrific concepts of inanimate figures coming to in life, and other related concepts such as ghosts and the image of the double figures or the doppelgangers. He suggested that these experiences could come about when there's a doubt whether whether the something or the inanimate object possesses a soul, making us doubtful whether these inanimate objects that are human-like are truly alive. The next reason is because it may be resulted from our fear of being replaced by something not human. This is actually a theory of our existential fear of being replaced by the human-like robots. Something you've definitely have watched in sci-fi movies. And the reason why Mori invented the term Uncanny Valley, where robots can sense, experience, reason, feel, or even learn like humans. This put us on edge of whether our creation will dominate us in the future. That one day that robots or the AI seems to calculated and understood that the main problem of the world is humans itself and must be terminated. Thus, the reason of why there's the Uncanny Valley effect. Definitely giving us a phrase on how we overthink things. The last reason is because it may be resulted from us being a social being. We humans are known to be the creatures on Earth to strive for social interactions, more than any living thing resides, and so does our brain's necessity or rather an instinct to look for recognizable faces everywhere that can be classified like us, humans. If the recognized entity or an object look too close to reality but not too close enough, the brain signal sends us a threat response resulting in an eerie vibes we feel and the Uncanny Valley effect. It is actually related to the first reason I told you earlier that the medial prefrontal cortex is associated with the said phenomenon. Furthermore, studies have shown that we are pretty good at spotting fakes, especially if this is on par with the reality. So the reasons for the Uncanny Valley effect are already given. But how come only some people feel the Uncanny Valley effect and not the others? The answer is because it's actually culturally related and based on generations. People who normally look with the human-like inanimates in their daily lives are apt to not feel this phenomenon, as they view these things as normal, in contrast to the people who rarely look with the human-like inanimate objects. A great example for this is a puppeteer versus a normal person working in a restaurant. We can easily visualize that the puppeteer will not freak out if they saw anything that is human-like but not really a human, compared to the other who probably will freak out. This is also applicable on the generations, where people born during the age of technology with robots and AI that's become more look like them will see it as a normal thing, as scientific innovations are already advanced, in contrast to the people who born before the age of technological advancement, like Sigmund Freud, who frantically may be viewed this as weird and eerie. And maybe some of you will ask, so how can we avoid the Uncanny Valley effect if ever we feel one? Actually, you can't avoid this type of emotional urge or feeling, as this is a normal thing for humans, because of the fact that we value our lives and we opt to detect instinctively any possible threats that may come across, and this includes the human-like inanimates. However, some animation studios like Pixar make their animation more cartoony to avoid the said phenomenon for their viewers. For example, the movie called Wall-E, and even the robot engineers nowadays. As McDormand says, the effect can be reduced by not creating robots or computer animated characters that combine features on different sides of the boundary. For example, human to non-human, living to non-living, or real to artificial. Yes, it is quite inevitable that this phenomenon will eventually make you feel that way. But knowing how it actually works is the one way on how to deal with it.
This is our recommendation and implementation plan. Based on our analysis, we recommend that designers and developers take a cautious approach when creating human-like entities, by avoiding creating systems that are too human-like, particularly in terms of their appearance and behavior. We also recommend conducting thorough user testing to ensure that the entities do not trigger the Uncanny Valley effect. And also, if you are a person who have automatonophobia, you better not watch any film that have the Uncanny Valley feeling. In order to implement our recommendation successfully, it is essential to have a well-defined design and development process that takes the uncanny valley effect into consideration. Additionally, it is important to continually monitor and evaluate the user response to the entities to ensure that they are not triggering the uncanny valley effect.
To sum up, the uncanny valley effects refers to an ease and often disturbing feeling that people experience when they encounter a robot or computer-generated characters that looks almost but not quite human. These effects is thought to be caused by mismatch between our expectation of how a human-like entity should have behaved and looked, and the actual appearance and behavior of the entity. Research has shown that uncanny valley effects is related to the way of our brain process information about faces and other human-like stimuli. When we see a human face, our brains automatically process a range of information such as facial expression, eye movement, and other nonverbal cues to make judgment about the person's emotion, intention, and personality. However, when we encounter a robot or computer-generated characters that looks almost human, our brains struggle to process this information, leading to a feeling of discomfort of unease. Additionally, this study shown that uncanny valley effects is associated with increased activity in certain brain regions, such as amygdala, which is involved in processing emotion and fear responses. This suggests that uncanny valley effects is a natural instinctive response to stimuli that we perceive as threatening or unfamiliar. While it can be unsettling to encounter robots or computer generated characters, understanding the uncanny valley effect can help us design technology that are more comfortable and engaging for human users. As we continue to develop more advances, human robots, and virtual assistants, it will be it will be important to keep in mind the principle of the uncanny valley effects and the design this technology with user comfort and acceptance in mind. Here are some references that you may find useful for further reading on the topic of uncanny valley effect.